This chapter of in this chapter software, I discussed with you that what are the three layers we have for softwares. First of all, we have the hardware, then we have system software and application softwares. Then I discussed like why there is a need for a software. After that, I discussed with you the generalized features of a system software and application software. And after that, I discussed with you individually regarding application software and system software as well. So I think I need to start from the utility programs from right here. So are you sure? Should I start from here? Okay, so for this part, for this part, utility programs are used by the users, and some of the utility programs, that means that those are the programs that are run by the user in the background. Are, for example, first of all, I have a virus checker. So a virus checker is like subjected to like a virus attack. So operating system includes virus checkers, but they must be kept thoroughly updated and they should be running in the background like to maintaining their guard against that infected being by the malware. So there can be certain ways to prevent the viruses, like first of all is being careful whenever you are downloading anything from the internet, and not opening files from unknown senders. Like you only need to open the files from from trusted senders. So when it comes to an antivirus, you also have the option to quarantine the files that are like not worthy or not used. So after that, I have is the defragmentation software, and this defragmentation software, as in what happens in this part is that sometimes your hard disk drive becomes full. I think I discussed this as well, and all of your blocks and files are going to be scattered all of the disk surface. But if you want to have them managed, or all of them into a better synchronized way, so we uses a disk defragmentation. I think I showed you a video for the disk defragmentation part as well, that all of your blocks are when you just delete them, or when you write the data on your hard disk drive again and again, so this happens. So you basically need defragmentation software. So it would be really advantages, like if the files could be stored in contiguous sectors, like reducing the head movement. Like you can see here, this is file 1 stored, this is file 2 stored, and this is file 3 stored, but between them there are some empty spaces. So these empty spaces should be utilized and properly managed. So as per you can see in this diagram, the file is being properly organized, or you can say that the file has been properly defragmented. So disk defragmentation, what is the advantage of that? It allows you for a much faster data access and much faster data retrieval, because now your hard disk drive only requires a very few read and write head movement to retrieve the file. Other than that, another software is a backup software, and in backup software, what you usually do is that you basically create a backup of your files, so that just in case if your computer has viruses or your Windows corrupted, so you can restore it back to a later point. Other than that, I have the security softwares as well that are similar to the antivirus, but security software is a very broader term. So in your security softwares, you have the access control of your user accounts, like such as your administrative user ID and user passwords. A security software also links you to other utility software as well, like you have a virus checker or a spyware checker. It also protects your network interface as well and uses the encryption and decryption to ensure that any intercepted data is meaningless. Then one of the utilities you have is the screensaver as well, and you might have seen the screensaver part. Like if you just leave your computer idle for a number of minutes, you can see that screensavers are the programs that basically supply the moving and still images on the screen, like even after their period of inactivity. So they are used to save your electricity by because they are developed to protect your monitor like which would suffer from phosphor burn if the screen remains on for a period of time. Then we have the device drivers as well, and as I explained you earlier, that device drivers are one of the main component of the computer system that is responsible for making the communication happen. So it basically makes it easy for the communicate with the operating system and transfer data into a format by a hardware device. So without device drivers, a hardware device would be unable to work with a computer. So there could be a message we send as well, like device such as not recognized like this. After that, I have the functions of an operating system, and it might be asked into your exam that you need to write down the functions or features of that. So, regarding the functions and features, first of all, it's the multitasking. For operating system means like you have Windows 8, you have Windows or you have Apple. So, what are the functions that it provides to you? So, it has functions such as your operating system provides you with the facility to multitask. It gives you the platform so that you can run your application software as well. You can manage your user accounts as well. You can manage your files. You can manage your data. You can work with your hardware management. You can work with your memory management. You can also work out on the interrupt handling routines. Interrupt handling means error handling whenever you face an error so you can solve it. You can work it out on managing the security as well, security like your username, passwords, and you have the last is the human computer interface. Human computer interface means it provides you an interface which is easy for humans to interact with. So this is right here for the human computer interface. Whenever I talk about the human computer interface, that means I'm referring to two different types of interface. One is a graphical user interface and the other one is a command line interface. So both of them comes into the same category. It has one is a CLI and the another one is a GUI. So if it is a command line instructions, it can be used for a user so that you can type in instructions in order to select from the menus or softwares. Like a command line instruction has only the command base. So if you want to open a file, you need to save it. You need to load it as well. So the user has basically a number of commands like just to like, carry out the basic operations. So for some advantage of CLI is that the user is in the direct communication with the computer and they are not restricted to some number of options. But if you're working with a graphical user interface, they allows you the user to interact with the computer system. So this is an example of a graphical user interface. This is a Windows screen. So some of the here's the difference between them. Like if it's a GUI, a graphical user interface, that means your user don't need to learn any of the commands. It is even more user friendly as well because it's all graphics part as well. And you might be using a pointing device as well to use to click on an icon to launch the applications. However, the disadvantages can be that this type of interface uses up a huge amount of computer memory than CLI. The user is also limited to the icons as well, and it needs an operating system such as Windows to operate. However, if you are working with a command line, like here, you don't have the graphics right here. So this means that first of all, your user is in direct communication. Direct communication means that you don't have any platform to make your way through it. So because if you have graphics, so that takes a little time because it's like it converts for you into a language that is understandable to it. In the command line, the user is basically not restricted to a number of predetermined options. It is also possible to alter the configuration settings as well. It uses a small amount of computer memory as well. The disadvantages can be that if the user needs to learn a number of commands to carry out the basic operation, and all commands needs to be typed in, which takes a lot of time. Each command must be typed in using the correct format. So, do you guys have any challenges or difficulties between them?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No confusions?
No confusions.
Security management softwares are something that we have just talked about. Like they are the part of your operating system, and their objective is to make sure your computer is secure and it is working with integrity, confidentiality. So within security management system, it carries out operating system updates as like when they become available. They ensures that your antivirus is up to date and they can communicate with it. For example, you have a firewall. They also make use of the privileges to prevent users from entering private areas onto a computer system. They can maintain access rights. Then I have the hardware management. So what is hardware management? It makes sure that what type of input and output devices are connected with your computers, because it communicates with all the input and output devices using device driver. So maybe if you're having a printer or if you're having a speaker, it's going to be the responsibility of your hardware management devices to make sure that all of the devices are connected or not. They uses device drivers to take a data from a file and translates it into a format that input and output device can understand. It also ensures that your each hardware resource has a priority, so they can be used and released as required. This means that if you have a number of hardware resources connected and you are making use of them, so they have a priority list. It can also manage the input and output devices by managing the queues. The queues means like a formation of line that is like making sure that which one has the highest priority in order. So this part goes for your hardware management. One, this is the responsibility of him. Then I have the file management. So all files into your computer systems basically contain some extensions, maybe HTML, PDF, Word, Excel, .exe. So this is going to be the job for the file management one. It's a part of your operating system as we discussed, and its responsibilities like is to like open the specific files into your computer systems. Maybe if you want to rename them, delete them, copy them, move them from one place to another, maintaining a direct structure, or like ensuring the access controls to your password or ensuring memory locations. Then I have multitasking as well. So multitasking is very easy because it's like when you are carrying out more than one task or when you are carrying out more than one process at a time. So each of the process is going to share the like hardware resources like under the operation of the computer system. So in multitasking, it makes sure that like it is accurately working and proper resources are allocated to your process. Proper resources means your RAM, hard disk drive, processor. So if you are multitasking, working with more than one task at a time, you can control that. So the process can be interrupted while it's running. It's given a priority, so it can have resources referring to them, right? Like for example, this is your CPU and this is your operating system. So your operating system is basically responsible for managing your spreadsheet, emails, web browsers, and antiviruses. So what can be the management for the user's account? Okay, so this part is like responsible for if you have a more number of users using a single computer, or if you have your like administrative that has all of the access, like management of the other users account as well. Like the administrator can create accounts, delete accounts, restrict their activity. So it's basically like the head of all accounts who can manages the activity. So this is also responsibility of an operating system, that it can store up to how many users are using that and then furthermore restrict their use. So running of applications is also a part of your operating system. So you need to know that here we have a very important term, and this term is known as booting up, or you can call it a bootstrap loader as well. So what happens is that when your computer starts up, part of your operating system needs to be loaded into your RAM. Where your computer starts up, part of operating system needs to be loaded into RAM. So that means that if before the startup, like your computer resources, if they want to turn off the operating system, they are loaded into RAM. So this process is known as like booting up or a bootstrap loader. So the startup of the computer's motherboard, which means that when your computer is being started up, it is being handled by the basic input and output system BIOS. So BIOS tells the computer where the storage device that holds the operating system can be found. So it then loads that part and executes it. So when your computer system is being loaded, that means it is being loaded from your RAM. So here it loads your basic BIOS instructions. So BIOS is like basic input and output systems. It is loaded from your RAM. And when it is being loaded up, this process is known as booting up. So this BIOS system can also be named as firmware. What is a firmware? A firmware is basically defined as a program that provides low level control for the devices. Then I have interrupts as well, and the easy way to answer interrupts is like, what is basically interrupts? Interrupts are like errors. So errors is basically signals that are sent from your device to your microprocessor. So an error can be caused like if you have too many programs open at the same time, or if even if you like are printing and there's a paper there, so it would produce errors. So producing errors and handling them is comes under the title of interrupt. So interrupt is like basically when you are performing a task and you are interrupted. So an interrupt is basically a signal that is sent from device or from software to the microprocessor. So they cause the microprocessor to temporarily stop. So interrupts can be caused by a timing signal, maybe an input and output error, a hardware failure, or maybe a user interaction error has caused as well. So once the error is received, the microprocessor then it carries on like what it was doing, or it stops the service of the program. The computer needs to identify the interrupt type. So interrupt allows the computer like to carry out many tasks, but to have several windows open at the same time. So for example, of it could be like you are downloading a file from the internet, and the same time you are also listening to songs from your library. So this is done for 4.1. Do you guys have any questions still here?
No question, sir.
I have a small exercise here if you guys can help me complete that. So screensaver, what is it? Is it a part of a system software or application software? Just tell me your answer so I can mark it. Sure. What is the answer?
Sir, screensaver is application software.
Screensaver is application. Okay. Then
Printer driver is system software.
printer driver is
System software.
okay. And antivirus.
Antivirus is application software.
Antivirus is application. Control and measurement.
Application.
Video editing.
Video editing application.
Compiler.
Compiler system software.
QR code reader.
Application
On
software.
screen calculator.
Application software.
Operating system software.
System software.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So what do you say? What can be the answer for 2A part? Only 2A. What can be the answer for 2A? I'm not sure it's buffering. Mike is downloading a video from the internet to his laptop. The speed of data transfer from the internet is slower than the speed at which the data is being sent to the media player. What could be used to stop the video constantly freezing while Mike is watching a video to his laptop? It says that the speed of data transfer from the internet is slower than the speed at which the video is being sent to your player. So, what could be used to stop the video from constantly freezing? Yes, yes, yes. A buffer could be used to stop the video from constantly freezing. That's correct. Because it just makes sure that it has properly loaded the file or not. Describe what is meant by BIOS and state its function. What is the function for the BIOS?
Sir, it is a type of firmware.
Mm-hmm. It's a type of
Firmware.
BIOS is like useful for your basic input and output instructions. So the function of a BIOS is like it has all your necessary information stored there.
Sir, can
So
we
can you give me
say,
the answers for this part?
sir, for the what is meant by a BIOS? Can we say the full form of BIOS?
What is meant by a BIOS? It means basic input and output
Basic input output
systems.
system.
And what is the function for a BIOS? The function is that it provides you an interface between your operating system and the hardware. So it is used for enabling and storing your basic configurations and your controls. So what when your computer is being powered up, so is the one that checks is that everything is okay or not, such as the functionality of your hardware components, CPU, memory, and storage devices. So after successful checks, it locates your operating device. So can you guys solve this part, question number 6, like match the one